Hey, Seattle Kraken fans, it's Tuesday after a Monday loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. Another loss at Climate Pledge Arena. Really not getting close to that 500 mark as of yet at Climate Pledge Arena that we talked about in the offseason. Another 5 spot by an opponent. But what I really want to talk about, and we're actually going to start here, what I really want to talk about is this sensationalized conversation regarding Shane Wright. That's what we're going to talk about first, and lots more to come on this Tuesday episode of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are the Seattle Kraken.
All right, Seattle hockey fans, welcome again to another episode of Locked On Kraken. I am your host, Erica L. Ayala. Today, I just want everyone to relax a little bit. I want everyone to relax, to relate, to release. I know we got Shane Wright. I know Shane Wright was expected to be the number 1 draft pick. We got him at 4. We were so jazzed and excited for him to build that middle backbone for the Seattle Kraken, and we were just going to be this sensational, fantastic team. We got to relax. Shane Wright in the lineup, not playing minutes. We need to relax. I think there are 2 separate things. That's 4. If you're one over here, one over here. Okay, now I got 2 fingers up, right? There are 2 things, and we need to separate them just a little bit. Okay, they are related, they overlap, but they're not always the same thing. They're not always the same thing. 2 things can be true, and here is what I posit are those 2 things. Shane Wright needs more development, and developing Shane Wright in this system is not the best development, which then of course brings in at least 2 other things. So maybe that's where the 4 fingers comes from. So if it's not in his best interest to develop within this system, then why is he here? Alternatively, why don't we have a good system? Why don't we have a good system? Okay? So I'm presenting some things, some queries to you this morning. Well, thank you. That I think we need to talk about. We have to talk about. I said it on YouTube. There was a comment, and it got me thinking. I might be ready to dive a little bit deeper in to this conversation about Dave Hakstol and his systems, and if this is the right time for Dave Hakstol with the Seattle Kraken. We heard a lot about Dave coming in. If you're new to the show, I highly recommend you go back to, we did a squadcast with Locked On Flyers talking about this. I was able to ask Dave Hakstol, some questions when he was introduced as the head coach, and I specifically asked about how he's going to build his team if he was focused more on his goals and developments and where maybe he needs support so that he can do what he's good at and then let people do what they're good at, or if it was a focus on people who had his same philosophy of developing talent and players, maybe a little bit of both. The vision, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing, I drink my teas, I burn my sage, I hold my crystals, and I'm still not seeing it. And I've been saying for a while now here on Locked On Kraken, we have to have a short leash for a lot of things. If we want to be the team that I believe Ron Francis wants us to be. So we're going to talk about the loss, but I wanted to start here. And I honestly want to take you to Darren Fun Guy Brown. So he does these post-game recaps. If you don't follow Darren, make sure you do. Sound of Hockey, follow Sound of Hockey, right up there with Emerald City Hockey. I mean, I'm someone that, at least right now, cannot be boots on the ground. So those are two accounts that I love. Andy Ide, we talk about Andy's work a lot here on Locked on Kraken. I'm all about sharing the love. We should do that for each other. Anyway, Darren, a fun guy, Brown, dropped some truth bombs. Things that I had been saying, things that I have been thinking, things that I think we need to put into context. So before I take you to Darren, I want to go to the comment that I put up because I was like, oh, am I starting to be team short leash for a Hakstol? I think I am. And I'm going to explain why. So here's the comment. It was actually something that came in a few days ago that I just got around to. But the comment is speaking about Shane Wright. It was a video that I posted from a media availability for Shane Wright. Check the show notes for that. Interesting that he mentioned making some errors off the ice as well, but he sounds like he's having fun now and is relatively confident. This is Shane Wright talking in the video. And so that's the comment. And after yesterday's game, again, I'll break it down a little bit more in the coming segment, but this is the hot topic, folks. What we're doing with Shane Wright and everyone getting into a tizzy. I think there's a conversation here, but I think we should have the right conversation. Okay, so this is what I replied. Now thinking about it, I wonder if the coaching staff is on him in specific areas. So again, or I should say to clarify, this is me wondering if there's particular parts of his game on or off the ice that they're like, hey, Shane, you got to clean this up. There have been reports from people that have been on the boots on the ground. There have been wide speculation as to why he dropped. I hate to feed into that, but I think generally speaking, he's an 18-year-old. He's going to have bad days, going to have an attitude. He's going to make mistakes. He's living on his own in a hotel, has never gone off to college. Unlike Matty Beniers, a little bit of a different development plan. So we're talking a lot about Dave Hakstol, but we also have to think about the Seattle Kraken. This is their first go round with what it's like in these modern days, having 18-year-olds on your hockey squad and keeping them focused. Hockey's a different beast, than even 5 years ago. Not just hockey, the world. Anyway, I go on to say, I know a lot of people are perplexed about his playing time, him being Shane Wright, but honestly, I'm not sure playing him in this system, for lack of a better word, is good for his development either. What do I mean by that? As of yet, there's no one really thriving in this system. As of yet, I'm of the impression that some of what we're seeing is individual effort as opposed to an actual system. It's about guys building camaraderie and chemistry as opposed to an actual system. I go on to say, I've been hesitant to call for Hakstol's job, but the writing might appear to be, I added the might, I did not type that. But what I really wanted to say is that the early indications that we might need to move in a different direction appear to be present for me. Because in other comments, I was, after yesterday's game, to put myself to sleep, I was commenting to calm my nerves is really what I'm trying to say. To just kind of calm my nerves after last night's loss. I wanted to take a look at what the Kraken crew, what the Kraken fans were saying on YouTube. I think we need to relax on asking Shane Wright to play more in this system. I think we need to temper our expectations of Shane Wright comparative to Matty Beniers. Is that a fair comparison? I say no. Again, Matty Beniers had college experience. Matty Beniers has a different temperament, in my opinion. Matty Beniers has a different set of skills. So before we close out, and again, I want to get it more into this. I'm going to give you the stats. I gave you my opinion first. Maybe I should have done it inverse. Either way, give you my opinion. There's a little bit more of a nuanced conversation that we have to have about time on ice regarding Shane Wright and Matty Beniers. But I do think that Darren Fun Guy Brown did a good job summarizing what my thoughts are. So if you want to check out Darren and his thoughts about the game, head over to Sound of Hockey. There was a lot of truth, a lot of wisdom shared by Darren, including now something else that I'm considering. Because as I said, I posit, thank you, s'il vous plaît, I posit, or I am offering the idea that this might not be a great system. I do think I do have questions on the development of Shane Wright, which also makes me wonder if we should be worried about the development of Matty Beniers. Let's talk about the game, and let's talk more about that coming up on Locked On Kraken. Right now, I'm going to tell you about Built Bar, and I don't think I've ever done this, but listen, my sleep schedule, I feel like I try to be honest with y'all. My sleep schedule has been wonky. So not only do I have the Built Bar s'mores, I might crunch into this on the show, but also the cookies and cream, which is it's actually a little more hefty, a little more chunky, because it doesn't have the puffs, which is the marshmallow. This one, cookies and cream. This one has I don't know if you can see that for those watching on YouTube, a little bit more of a give. This one, I like it though. I like how it's, these are some of my favorites. I tell you, I keep them in my desk. Because on days like this, when you just watched a rough game from the Seattle Kraken, you've got a podcast to record, you've got a podcast to edit and upload. You know what's going to get me through is my Built Bars. And we want to make sure that whatever your day looks like, that you have the protein that you need, that you have the snack, the drive that you need, that's going to keep you high in protein, but keeping that sugar count low, keeping that carbs count low. And that is Built Bar. So for long-time listeners, you already know the deal. But if you're new, first of all, welcome to Locked On Kraken. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. But I'm going to let you in on the Built Bar family. Great tasting protein bars. Again, low carbs, low calories, high protein. This one is the cookies and cream. Cookies and cream, 130 calories, 17 grams of protein, 100% covered in chocolate, just like every other Built Bar. That's one of my personal favorites. And it gets you going. So you can head over to built.com. Use promo code. Here we go. Use promo code LOCKED15. I'm so serious when I use these to keep my energy up. 15% off at built.com when you use promo code LOCKEDON15. Happy snacking. All right, now that I've been able to enjoy my Built Bar, I want to remind everyone, I've been telling you about this. Game to Game is our new way of recapping all of your favorite leagues, your favorite teams. Make your second listen of the day, after, of course, listening to Locked On Kraken, Game to Game. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the National Hockey League with local analysis that only Locked On can offer. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NHL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right. I ate my Built Bar. I honestly already feel better. I was getting a little hangry. Been up for a few hours already now. Shane Wright, calm it with the time on ice. So let me tell you what I'm talking about. Yesterday's show, I told you I'm going to start using natural stat trick a little bit more. Let's just get into it. We're going to talk. This is the time on ice graph that they have here. Putting it in the show notes so you can check it out. I mentioned it yesterday. I'm a creator that uses Patreon. Natural Stat Trick has Patreon. If you like what you see, consider becoming a Patreon member, or as I say for Black Rosie Media, a member of the Patreon posse. Okay, so we're looking at time on ice. There it is, Shane Wright, 649, folks, 649. Another little situation they have here is the forward lines. So if you notice, Shane Wright, and I talked about it, or you heard Dave Hakstol talk about it, making changes in the middle of games. The Seattle Kraken, even putting Shane Wright's time on ice to the side. The Seattle Kraken are trying to figure some things out. And so another comment that I put on YouTube is I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned about the Seattle Kraken because last year we talked about character, we talked about identity of the team. This year, it doesn't seem like we have a handle on that. So focused on offense and possession. I don't know if it's that they don't have the personnel. I don't know if that the chemistry isn't there. Is it a little bit of both? But I was worried that focusing on that style of hockey, it just seemed like that's really what Seattle wanted to ram down our throats. Ron Francis said it. Nick Olchek, new to the broadcast, one of the first things he talked about, coming from Dave Hakstol, coming from the players, like everyone was on brand. We're a high octane, or at least a better offense than we were last year, and we're ready to focus on scoring. They go get Bjorkstrand. They get Burakovsky, who we'll talk about and you'll hear from. I've told you I'm concerned on defense, and that's exactly what we're seeing. We cannot make stops against teams who, quite frankly, are built better offensively than we are. There were some things that I liked. The goal, it was an Eberle goal. Burakovsky goal. Eberle made a great play on the goal. That's my bad.
Congrats on 300 career points and a 4-game point streak on a high note. How important was it for you when you joined this team to make an impact like that on their score sheet?
I want to do an impact all the time. Score sheet, not score sheet. Right now, I think it's coming on the score sheet, but I need to play better too. Handle the pucks better and better plays, and I think that's reflects on everyone and on the game today. Same as last game, I think we giving away the puck a little bit too easy, and we're not hard enough on the pucks, and we got to be better.
So with his second period goal, Andrei Burakovsky got his 300th career NHL point. He also continues his point streak to 4 points. I talked on my now, which goes on game to game, by the way, my recap. Matty Beniers, his point streak died. I was rooting for Matty. His point per game streak died. Didn't get an assist, didn't get a goal. I know. Slacker. Anyway, I want to talk about Matty Beniers a little bit. But Eberle and McCann get the assists. But honestly, it was great puck movement from the Seattle Kraken. That's the type of game that is possible with Burakovsky, with Bjorkstrand, with Beniers. And now Eberle and even Schwartz, we're seeing them get into the games and scoring earlier in the season than last year. I mean, some of that is you got another year under your belt with some of the guys. There is talent here. These guys, when they get comfortable, you see the vision. But is there enough being done? Is there enough that can be done with the coaching staff that we have to get this Seattle Kraken team to where we want them to be? That's the question. Is it an unfair question to ask? What are we, 4 games into the season? I don't think so, because some of what we saw last year, we're still seeing. And the reason that is a problem is because it wasn't acceptable last year. Lack of focus, not starting off a game with energy. How many times have we heard that in the last handful of days? Making mistakes defensively. I do want to talk about something that I liked. That passing was beautiful from the Seattle Kraken to get Burakovsky that 300th point. But Eberle using his body as a shield to shield off the defender so that Burakovsky could get that shot. I love plays like that. Team hockey. Team-oriented hockey. Giving your teammate, to say something Ron Francis says, every opportunity imaginable to score. Now, what I want to see more of is giving your teammate every possibility imaginable to stop the puck. Philip Grubauer did not have a bad game. 5 spot, it might seem as though that first goal, the mistake I think Philip Grubauer made is if you look at the replay, he goes to poke check. What's my arm doing? Oh no, because he sealed the post. He sealed the near post, puts the arm out. Oh no, that leaves a space. And Seth Jarvis attacks the net, as one does, and was able to poke that in. That's a good effort. That's a good effort by Carolina. You want to be nippy. Should he have tried to poke check and leave this open? Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to leave that to you. Maybe it was a little bit dicey in that situation. Some of the other goals. I'll take you to the shot chart. Also on Natural Stat Trick, the heat map. Because I went over this before the game, and some of y'all were like, oh, dang. Yeah, this is how Carolina gets down. Look at this. Look at this. So we see on this heat map that the Seattle Kraken, they conceded a lot. They conceded a lot right in front of net. This blue area, if you're watching on YouTube, but then this green blob. It's not the most high traffic for Carolina, but it's like everywhere. They use the length and width of the ice to their advantage as compared to the Seattle Kraken that really were only able to fight to get in front. But then, I mean, look at this little blip of heat right in front of net. That is Burakovsky's goal. Again, that passing happened right in here between Eberle, McCann, and Burakovsky. Eberle did a great job of shielding off this defender coming from what would be the far post, the weak side help. He shades the weak side help. Now, there was another goal. I'm not going to remember which one off the top of my head, but there was a goal. Philip Grubauer made 2 saves. It was a scramble right in front of net. And what the Seattle Kraken did not do was Brandon Tanev, as a matter of fact, what he did not do is do what Eberle did offensively, which is to shade, to screen, to block, to box out the player from the opposition coming from the weak side. And that's how Carolina got one of their goals. And, you know, this was a 2-1 game after Burakovsky's goal. But then response goal. We give up a goal. Burakovsky scores at 13:06. We give up a goal at 13:24. And it was one of those, anything you can do, I can do better, because it was beautiful passing. Beautiful passing by the Carolina Hurricanes. It's almost like they were like, oh, did Seattle come to play? For real now? We got to show them what's up. And they did.
Well, you make mistakes against good teams, especially when they put you under pressure, and that's going to come back to haunt you. And that happened to us tonight.
5-1 score. It seems nitpicky, but this is the NHL, baby. This is the NHL. This is what it takes to win in the NHL. And going back to Shane Wright, going back to Matty Beniers, the Seattle Kraken staff can't seem to push the right buttons yet. I'm going to give them a not yet. They can't seem to push the right buttons yet on how to get their team to consistently do the small things.
Other than the loss, just kind of felt the same. We didn't play up to our standard, and but we got to come out better against St. Louis.
And so these are the things that I focus on when I'm asking or engaging in a conversation on, is Shane Wright's development plan flawed? Is it time to move on from Dave Hakstol? The leash is running thin. The runway is becoming shorter because the identity that we said we were building, and even though it stunk, I do think existed, the identity seems washed away in favor of this keep the puck, shoot the puck, spend as much time in our offensive zone. And now that that's not necessarily working against high caliber NHL talent, what is the adjustment? What is happening? I have questions on the system. So why would we want a top prospect to develop in a questionable system? I'm not worried about Shane Wright's time on ice. First of all, I don't know how he helps this mess of an offense that we have right now. Special teams was also a reason that Shane Wright wasn't in the lineup. Here's Dave Hakstol talking about it. Shane Wright is not on the power play. Shane Wright is not on the penalty kill. We spend a lot of time on the power play and the penalty kill. 5 power play opportunities for Carolina, 5 power play opportunities for the Kraken. That's 10 specialty team deployments. Shane Wright is not on special teams. That's part of it. But also, you have NHL guys, Stanley Cup winners, all-stars, who aren't getting this system down. Do we need an 18-year-old who's still trying to figure out the pace of the game on the ice? Do we need that? Does he need that? Learning and dysfunction? Sure, I guess, that's like throwing the baby into the water and letting them figure it out. That's not always the best. That's not always the best for any individual. That's not always best for any individual scenario or for any team. I hear what you're saying. I think and I talked about this on yesterday's show, how Dave Hakstol is talking about Shane Wright's development, I have questions. I'm raising my eyebrows because I don't think that he makes a lot of sense.
Did you plan to limit Shane Wright's minutes as much as you did, or was that more the result of just so much special teams play?
Yeah, that's the way the flow of the game went. I mean, that's partly the special teams and partly the flow of the game.
I've been listening to Willie. I think I mentioned this yesterday, Willie's biography as read by Everett Fitzhugh. It's a great listen. And Willie O'Ree is talking about going up, going down, going up, going down, being in a place that's like, we need you, you're an emergency call-up, and then not playing any games. Shane Wright is far from the first, the only, and certainly not the last NHL player whose development means sitting on the bench. Why are we mad? Are we mad because the team's not doing well? You don't get a top prospect if your team's doing well. This is not new to hockey. I don't understand. It's not new to sports. I got an email saying, hey, Let's talk a little bit more about Matty Beniers. I loved that email. I would love to talk more about Matty Beniers. And I think, honestly, the Shane Wright debacle that we're dealing with is a perfect way to talk more about it. Because Shane Wright and Matty Beniers, their development is not the same. But now I'm starting to wonder. I know it's one game that he didn't score. But should we be worried? Should we be worried about Matty Beniers and his development? I say no for right now, but I'm keeping an eye out on it. Because if they mess with my boy Matty, and I don't like Donato being a scratch, I don't like it. And if once Shane Wright goes back to the OHL, Donato is still a scratch, all hell is going to break loose on this podcast. Because Ryan Donato is the kind of player who's that guy. You heard Darren talk about it. I talked about it. Last week, it came from the playback room. We were watching live, but I was like, who is going to be that guy for Seattle? I'll tell you what, early returns, Matty Beniers, he might not always be that guy, but he can be the guy, okay? He's got that in him. I haven't seen that from Shane. Not yet. He's young. Totally different hockey experience. As Darren said, as I have been saying, Matty Beniers, different development, but Darren said something that I thought was great that I didn't amplify enough, but I will do so from now on. Matty Beniers has played up. He's been playing with guys older than him before he ever set foot on the ice for an NHL game. Let's not compare Beniers to Wright, because Matty Beniers is improving the Seattle Kraken system because of the development he had with the U.S. team. World Championships, Olympics, development program at Michigan. Oh, Michigan. Anyway. Shane Wright didn't have that. And he needs something right now, and I don't think the Seattle Kraken can give it to him. Not right now. So give him his 9 games. Give him a few where he's just watching. Then send him back. Challenge him, but challenge yourself, Seattle. What are you doing to get this guy ready? Because you didn't go out and get, for example, Kadri, because you said you were ready to build up the middle with these 2 guys. So what's the plan? We're asking Dave Hakstol a lot. What's the plan, Ronnie Francis? What's the plan? Every opportunity, he'll be given every opportunity to make the team. All right, he made the roster opening day. What's the plan now? I didn't get to talk about the Firebirds on the show because I got fired up about this Seattle Kraken team, but they're 2-0, baby. So the development plan for Coachella Valley is happening, and I talked about it last season. The plan in Charlotte was there too. I'm gesticulating for anyone who is listening on audio or just not in front of your screen. Maybe the plan, been talking about bridge contracts. Is Dave Hakstol a bridge contract? I've floated this idea before because I do think that there's going to be a tight leash. Maybe we're not at that maximum threshold yet, but I personally, because I am playing the armchair GM, I'm the podcast host, it's coming up for me. Now, I can't say if that's the same timeline as Ronnie Francis and his staff. It's coming up for me. And that's not necessarily to do with the wins, losses. It's how we're losing and the things that are not improving. That's how I'm measuring that. The wins and losses, you're going to lose games. Well, we got 2 losses. Oh, you don't lose two games in a whole hockey season? A 82-game season, and you're not going to lose 2 games? Ever? Stop it. I'm not worried about the losses. It's how we're losing. It's the errors that we are self-inflicted ones that aren't changing, that we're not fixing. We're not changing behaviors. We're not impacting the game. We're not impacting the game. Whew, this was a straight rant podcast. I had notes. You know, you probably can't read that. I don't know if I can read that. No, Burakovsky, excuse me, 300 milestone game recap. We did some of that. Great work by Ebbs. Okay, we talked about that. Shane Wright. Did I really need to talk about anything else? We did natural stat trick, time on ice. Darren, fun guy. And the Firebirds. Okay, boom. We did it. I'll pick that up later. We did it. But it was rant style. Very much a rant style podcast. I just had a lot to say. And they gave me a podcast to say it. All right, folks, I'm going to finish this Built Bar. I've been snacking on it while I've been taking these our little sponsor ad breaks. Now that you have listened to my rant on Locked On Kraken, make game to game on Locked On NHL your second listen of the day, and then listen to Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Your fantasy team's doing well. You're winning some money there. You're getting some points there. Hey, just give us a thumbs up, subscribe, tell your friends. Or if you're just like, look at this chick losing her mind and eating a Built Bar while doing it. That works too. Hold fast. Stay true. Don't be hangry. Get you some Built Bar. And I'll see you tomorrow, Kraken fans.